Welcome to this episode of 427 Motorsports, where we'll be taking a look at our supposedly seized diesel pump on our 1.9 straight diesel Mk2 Golf. Now, the symptoms with this, we have the car starting and running, but there are no revs. Now, we have cracked all of the injectors, bled the system, put a manual primer, made sure there's diesel in the fuel filter. All the basics we have checked. And somebody else seemed to have the same problem, and they just swapped their pump for another one, and it worked. So chances are the problem lies within the diesel pump. So today we're going to take the diesel pump off, have a quick look inside and see is there anything blatantly seized or stuck. Now this engine sat for quite some time before going into this vehicle, so we did hand turn it over to make sure there's compression and all sorts so it's not seized, but the pump could be. Now this engine is out of a Seat Inca, but also is in the Mk3 Golf and in the Mk2 Caddy van and pickup. Yes, it's not the fastest, I know, but supposedly extremely reliable, which if anyone knows me, they know that's what I need in a Golf. So hey ho. So I don't really know what I'm doing with taking this pump off because I haven't done this in about 5 years and I did it once. So probably just fast forward through me footering about really, but let's get stuck in. Okay, so because I know that we have a very wide range of viewers on this channel, from car enthusiasts to experts to those just starting out and would like to know more. So let's do a very rough overview of what we're actually looking at here. So this is a 1.9 straight diesel engine, and this is the diesel pump, this whole system here. Now this is what's known as a mechanical pump, which means there are no electronics apart from one wire that goes to your key. And you turn the key and it gives this power and yeah, it'll run. Basically it's called a stop solenoid. So when you turn the key off, it blocks off the flow, stops diesel getting to the engine, and the engine won't run anymore. Here is your throttle, also known as accelerator, go pedal, whatever you want to call it. Now you move your pedal in the car and that pedal pulls this cable, which pulls this. And that revs basically. So your diesel pump is run by your timing belt, which is here. And I have these for that, because to remove the pump, I'm going to need to clamp the belt. I'll get into that later. So basically, turn your car on, your crank, which is the main boy that moves everything, it turns, turning your cam, which turns your diesel pump. I'm not going to go into detail on all the rest because it's not relevant to this video. This is your feed. This is a manual pump, yes. This is a manual pump so that whenever you run out of fuel, the hardest thing for this thing to do is to get diesel up to the engine. So if you're stuck somewhere, you would prime that up so you're not constantly turning your engine and draining your battery. So it's a nice little get out of jail free card. This is your fuel filter. Fuel comes up from the tank into this filter, comes through that, through this primer, all the way down and into the pump. Now obviously when you stop running there will be diesel in the pump, but it'll have nowhere to go. So this is called your return, as I labelled because I was swapping the engine. This takes what's left and throws it back down into the tank via gravity. Now at the back we have these 4 pipes. Now these go to what's called your injectors, and these inject your engine with fuel, hence injectors. So your diesel pump churns all this diesel through, pumps it through, I should say, into these pipes which go into your injectors, and your motor runs. And to be quite honest, that is as simple as it gets with diesel engines. Old Volkswagen and any mechanical diesel really is as simple as that. Comes up, goes in, simple as, no trickery or anything. So usually when something goes wrong, such as now, when it won't rev, probably something quite simple. So yes, it's not simple having to take a pump off, it's actually quite a handling, but hey ho. So I'll get stuck in here let's go. I'll begin by unplugging that stop solenoid I talked about, because it's literally just a case of done. There you go, you've already started. The back is broken. Next, we'll take off the throttle assembly. Now we're going to pry this up. So that's that. And then slide this forward and it pops off. Simple. One thing disconnected. Next, what will we do? We'll take this injector pipe off, the return pipe should I say, and then we will take off our feed and return pipe. The 17. Now, bear in mind, see when you take off your feed or your return or your feed, there are copper washers here that form a seal. Make sure to either replace them or not lose them. Preferably replace them, but you might get away with just keeping them. Either way, you need them. Don't forget about them. These are what's known as a banjo bolt, and they're so called for some reason. I don't really know. But your diesel, this is a return one, so it has a smaller hole, but your diesel can go through. The bolt is actually hollow. So the diesel goes through this wee bit here and then out the tiny wee hole. Now because this is return, it's a wee small hole, I'll show you the difference when I get into the bigger one, the feed. Another pro tip, always put them back where you got them so you don't lose them. And most importantly, well, not most importantly, all of this is important, so yeah. Notate which is which, or take photos, but obviously I can tell because I have the hand primer on, but if you don't, it's handy to know. So I've noted return. And I will do the same for this one. Now you will get diesel coming out here because obviously this is primed. So just be aware of that. Diesel's not as bad as petrol though. It's not going to suddenly catch fire if you look at it the wrong way, so don't worry. Again, copper washer. Now, that copper washer I just threw in the ground. Now, again, oh, that's got diesel all over my belt. This thing needs service, so I'm not worried. Now, again, another banjo bolt, hollow at the bottom, but with a much bigger hole for more diesel to get through, because obviously it's feeding it into the pump, so it needs quite a lot of room. So again, put it back where you got it from, and most importantly, do not mix these up. Make sure that you do not put the return banjo into your feed banjo, or your diesel will not run properly. It might run, but it won't run very well. Next up, we are going to take off these injector pipes. Oh, that's just pissing diesel out everywhere, isn't it? We'll just set that in there, out of the way. Now we're going to crack these injector pipes. Once again, these are a 17. That's convenient. Now, you may fight with this more than I have. I have had these off whilst bleeding the system, etc. But if you're at the stage of taking your diesel pump off, then there's a good chance at some point you've probably had these off too. Now, that is all of our injector pipes off. Next, we're going to remove, I don't know if you can quite see it here, let me try and get a better shot. There's a nut or a bolt down in here. It's not one of these round ones, it's actually, there it is. You can just about see it there. So you need to undo that one. Now, all that's left, I think, is the difficult part. That is getting this thing off. Now, again, I haven't done this in quite some time, so let's take this airbox out of the way to give us a bit more room. I'm really pleased with how solid this still is. Now, let's get this off and get a look at our timing. Now, here's the thing, timing belts, as you may know, are extremely important. If this breaks, you are screwed. So, and if it goes out of time, that's another handling in itself. So what I like to do is just put some vice grips onto it to hold them in place. Now, not too tight or you'll pinch the belt or something like that. I'm sure a lot of people will maybe frown upon my method here, but I know it works, so I don't care. This belt will be replaced soon, so I just need to get it to work. When the car works, the belt will be replaced. Right, so that's on, and that belt isn't going anywhere. Okay, next we are going to take off the pulley for the pump. Now this is not fun. Most will probably use an impact gun on that to stop it from going out of place, but hey ho. Now that hasn't moved any teeth and it's stuck on up there. So this is our pulley. Now take note of what direction it's facing, which I didn't, but I'll look back in the video and see. Hindsight is 20/20. Now we have 3 bolts on here, and these are what actually hold our pump in place. Now there isn't a particular order to how you do any of this, but this side is probably best being done last, purely because it holds it all in place while you're taking everything else off. Now I've checked, those bolts are all the same size, so I don't need to worry about doing a certain order. Now this has been on for quite some time, so it might struggle to come off. It might need a bit of, how do you say, encouragement. So I'm going to go and get some encouragement. There we go. 1 diesel pump out. Now, let's take this pump into the shed and see what's wrong with it. So we're looking at the 1.9 straight diesel pump here on the bench. And realistically, all we're going to do here is take it apart and just make sure things move inside it. We have no idea what we're going to expect, and we've never taken one apart before, so it's just going to be seeing what happens.
But this is the throttle, so it's moving, so it may not be moving what we want inside. So we need to take the top piece off.
That was jamming it in place.
Oh, that was tight.
That's all throttle mechanism now too, isn't it?
Yeah. Ah, look at that there, yeah, it was stuck.
The throttle was actually stuck then?
That was stuck, yeah. That's moving in and out now, which it wasn't.
What did you move to suddenly free it, or you just played with it?
Yeah, I just grabbed it and moved it. The whole thing's stiff, the whole thing is stiff.
Okay, so to recap, we have taken apart our pump, seen that the throttle assembly on the inside is seized, or was seized. So we freed it up, cleaned out any rust, got rid of the water that was in the pump, which is not good, so let's hope it's still decent. So now it's a case of refitting it back to the car. Now, this really is, as they say in the Haynes manual, it's just reverse of removal, but sure, we'll film it anyway and fast forward it and you can just see. And if there's any tips and tricks, I'll let you know. Okay, so before we get stuck into this, I should clarify. Now, your pump should have what is known as a key. And unfortunately, my pump doesn't actually have one. Now, your key is like a half crescent moon sort of thing that goes in here. Hopefully you can see that. And then there should be a notch on the pulley or something and it locks it in place. It's to do with timing. But unfortunately, this one has been, obviously somebody's been at it before and it doesn't have one. So, but you can see where it's meant to be. So, thankfully, on this bio here, I could see where the line was, where the key used to be. So we've marked it with Tipex, and if we line it up perfectly, which we tested it and it does line up perfectly, we should be fine. So, fitting is again reverse of removal, so let's just get stuck in. Okay, so that's the pump on. Now, let's connect everything else back up. Start with the throttle. Go. Now we'll put these injector pipes back on. The beauty of these is they'll be roughly in the right place. Injectors off. Now, we're going to leave our return off for now, but we will install our feed. So we've removed the feed banjo. I'm going to plug it in first, and I'll tell you why. Because if we take the top copper washer off, oh, got diesel coming out. At least there's plenty of diesel in the vehicle. Then we're going to fit that to that, where it should be. I'm going to tighten it up. Now, the reason I've done that and not put it onto this, I take the return off. This is effectively a way of bleeding our pump, and it will also save us from turning the engine over and over and over and over and getting nowhere. So we're just going to prime it. The eagle-eyed among you may notice I'm wearing a different pair of clothes. That is because, well, things don't always happen on the same day, and the magic of YouTube may make most people seem like they do everything in one go, but in reality that doesn't happen, and it's okay. You can just walk away from a project and come back to it. Don't expect everything to be done straight away. Don't panic. It's fine. So, I did already try and start it, to be honest, and the problem was it wouldn't start, and that's because our hand primer was actually not working properly. So as you can see, this one now is. I had to go and buy one. So yeah. Now what you're going to do once this is on is you're going to need to bleed your pump. Now what you're going to do is the injectors on here, crack one of them open a wee touch and turn the engine over until diesel comes out, basically. So I've done all that. Now the only thing you will have to worry about is your pump timing. Now I'm under the impression that you can turn this and get it in time. You're best following another video on timing your pump. I'm not sure how to do that, to be quite honest. And I'm not going to tell anyone how to do it because I don't know. But hopefully, all being well, if everything we did actually works, I should turn the key and it should start and I should have some revs. Now depending on what the pump timing is like, it may hesitate, but as long as it runs and revs, we've fixed our problem. So let's see what happens. Now another thing to bear in mind that I'm going to do, and you won't need to, hopefully, is my heater plug doesn't seem to get power whenever I turn it on, so I have to, for the purpose of the video, I'll manually put power to the heater plugs to heat the vehicle up. Okay, it should be heated. Let's turn the key and see what happens. So yeah, it's a bit of a smoky mess, but I have nothing connected up. There's no exhaust on it, there's no air intake, there is nothing. This is very bare bones. So we fixed the problem. It still doesn't rev very well because we need to adjust the pump timing, but again, follow another video for that. I'm actually going to ask someone else how to do that. But the main thing is I had no revs at all before. There was no reaction to it whatsoever. So we have fixed our problem. So yes, I know that's a bit of a rubbish how-to if it still isn't timed right and all, but you know, the point of the video was to fix it not revving, and it's not revving. So we'll just play about with the timing. To play about with the timing, you're going to undo the two bolts that hold the pump in place on the one at the back and twist it, apparently, I've been told. But so yeah, Thanks for watching this how-to guide on how to fix your diesel pump not revving. The next video will have this all timed and perfect. So stick around to see that, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.